Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the chance for me to present biology of Indonesian villages. Thank you so much for RSB Australasia branch for having me, for giving me chance to deliver my presentation. Also, I want to thank you for my friends who have attended the talks. First of all, I'm gonna deliver about etymology of ethnobiology. So, ethnobiology consists of two words. Ethno means ethnic, culture, or traditional people, and biology means the science of living things. The definition of ethnobiology. According to Professor Iskandar, ethnobiology is a scientific evaluation towards traditional communities' knowledge about plants, animal, and environment. Uh, so mostly in ethnobiology is all about to talk utilization and management of natural resources and biodiversity by the traditional communities. So on how they utilize the biodiversity, on how they manage their environment, including the plantation garden or rice field or even the forests around their live. Other definition of ethnobiology, which I collect from website of dictionary. So it said that the branch of biology involving study of uses of plants and animals in various human societies. From Merriam-Webster, the interdisciplinary study of how human cultures interact with and use their native plants and animals. Interdisciplinary here means because in ethnobiology there are so many subject involved there, such as biology itself, anthropology, forestry, agriculture, sociology, and any other subject. From dictionary, the scientific of study of the way plants and animals traded or used by different human cultures. From there, we have three keywords: human, cultures, or societies, plants and animals, and on how we as a scientist evaluation for the human or societies there, how they utilize it and how they interaction with plants or animals. The principle of ethnobiology. So the principle of ethnobiology basically do not study about aspect of biology and social partially, but holistically. It will talk about integrated community social system and environmental or ecological. So in ethnobiology, we do not talk about the utilization only in plants or animals, but also how the societies run their social life, on how they gathering food, how they run traditional ceremonies, how they cure their own people from illness with this subject, plants or animals, and how they sustain their environment, like forest or rice field or plantation. So the factors of ethnobiology about local knowledge, indigenous knowledge or local wisdom, belief, including their religion, economic system, on how they plant some plants or farm some animals, consume it themselves or even sell it to the market, and natural resources, both nature or owned like rice field or plantation, the biodiversity around there, sustainability. So yeah, they will not, the traditional communities will not over exploitation because they will also concerned about the sustainability. So yeah, they will not over exploitation, but they will pay attention about the sustainable use, and then perception and conception about the traditional communities. According to Kuni and Sada Jumari, practical of knowledge in traditional communities in each tribes is different each other. So with the regional here and there, the way they utilize is different, ecosystem is different, the biodiversity, including vegetation, animals, and any others things are also different. The local knowledge is also different. Meanwhile, Indonesia consists of many island ecosystem, biodiversity, and tribes. So yeah, there will be many utilization, the way to use plants or animals, the way they conserve their environment, forests, and any other things in traditional communities' life. Local knowledge is the knowledge that people in a community have developed over time and continue to develop. It is based on experience, yeah. So what they do is based on experience empirically. They gain it from their parents gain it from their parents, and it will over and over transferred over 100 years, maybe often tested over centuries of use. So beside times, there are also many experiment or empirical studies or even experience from there, and then adapted to the local culture and environment, as I delivered before, because in every region there will be different local knowledge, there will be different ecosystem, there will be different biodiversity, there will be also different how they treat it, how they use it, how they conserve it. Indigenous knowledge is a sum total of the knowledge and skills which people in particular area enable them to get most out of their natural environment. So yeah, they will try to utilize their environment, use biodiversity from there, so they will fulfill their needs from there. Unique knowledge which confined to a particular society, as I said earlier, from an area to another area is having a different local knowledge, different the way to use it, the way they conserve it. This knowledge, including skills, have been passed down from earlier generation to new generation. It may run for 100 years, maybe more than 100 years, with more than 100 empirical from their parents, from their grandparents, how they process food, how they run traditional ceremonies, and any other things. This knowledge intact to the next generation in an effort to provide them in order to survive with strategies. Yeah. They will gain this knowledge in order to survive in their life time after time with kind of strategies. Then we move to Emic and etic. What is Emic and etic? Emic is an approach from traditional communities' knowledge and point of view. So on how they believe something like this plant is able to cure particular illness, particular wounds, and while ethic is evaluated and validated by researchers scientifically. We as a scientist have duty to evaluate it and validate their belief. For example, some of traditional communities utilize Ageratum codisolides Australasia. It is categorized as invasive alien species, but some of traditional communities use it to cure external wounds. They believe it because their parents did it, and then they do so, and then they tell their children to do so. Uh, yeah, and somehow it works. While these leaves of Ageratum conizoides is get crushed and it is given to the part with external wounds will heal faster. So there also a research about Ageratum conizoides extract leaves that animals treated with methanol aqueous extract of Ageratum conizoides show faster rate of wound healing. Yeah, this is called ethics, while belief and point of view is called epic by the traditional of communities, and ethic is the evaluation and the validation by researchers or scientists. This one is also many of traditional communities say this: do not cut the trees or the ancestral spirits will be angry. If the trees in forest are cut, if there's a rain season, there will be a flood. And if there is a dry season, there will be a dry. Yeah. They believe that if someone or anyone cut down the trees from forest, the ancestor will be angry, and then there will be a disaster like flood in a rainy season or dry in a dry season. But ethically, in ethics, it's a biological function of trees, communities, and forests. Forest and tree will run water conservation, so there will be no floods or there will be no dry in every season. This one is called Emic, and this one is called etic. I'm going to method in ethnobiology. The method in ethnobiology mostly run with ethnography interview, which like semi-structured interview. We have made some questionnaire with question, but there will be an open answer from informant. They can answer widely, but in structured interview, there is a closed question. The question is there, so they only question answer the question from the questionnaire. In the way we choose informant, there are some method also random sampling. We can choose whoever and everyone in the traditional communities having the same chances to get chosen as informant. While stratified random sampling, the informant is divided by sex like female and male, by age like children, teenager, adult. Snowball sampling, when we ask the traditional community organizer, like their leader, they will also giving us recommendation for who will be the next we interview. While purposive sampling method, while we have determined who will be our informant. For example, if we want to study about medicine, so we go to the shaman with practical skill of curing illness. If we want to study about staple food or side food, we go to mother in every house, so we can ask what kind of food they cook, how they cook it, how they process it, what kind of species they used. And if we want to know about traditional ceremonies, we can go to the traditional communities organizer such as uh, a leader of religious or leader of community. So we can ask about traditional ceremonies. Purposive sampling is used when we want to know about specific issues. The traditional communities organizer, their leader or their religious leader is considered to have known many knowledge about traditional ceremonies or even religion. The participation, so we can also live involved with traditional communities with direct observation participative. If they go to forest, we also join them to forest. If they go to the rice field or plantation, we also join to the plantation or the rice field. We do some harvest, we do some plantation around there, and also guided field work if we want to know about vegetation composition around the village. We can also ask one of or two of these traditional communities to accompany us to the forest so we can do some ecological and analysis and vegetation analysis. From there, we can also ask them the local names of the tree, local names of the animals, with also their use. So we as a scientist can have role as a bridge from traditional communities within their traditional knowledge to know how they use it, how they conserve it, with facilitating the local knowledge of traditional communities based on principle of science. So uh, based on their belief, based on their point of view, we noted it, and then after that, ethnobiology has a role as a scientific instrumentation in noted their knowledge. So after that, we can also validate it. We can also validating it. And then collaboration with other subjects such as anthropology, forestry, agriculture, and pharmacy is also needed because from anthropology they can do more in ethnography method like interviewing. In forestry, they will gain or know more about the forest system in there. With agriculture expertise, they can also dig more about agricultural system there. With pharmacist expertise, yeah, they can do some interview with shaman with specialty to cure illness. Branches of ethnobiology. So basically, ethnobiology is to study what traditional people fulfill daily needs such as food, house, clothes, how they protect ecological process and ecosystem, and protect biodiversity, including their variety of plants. Local or indigenous knowledge as ethnobiology basic and main study have medicinal, agriculture, forestry, farm, and conservation. This is the branches of ethnobiology. Ethnobotany is a study of relation between human and plants in their environment. So the local knowledge of traditional communities, they will start, they will have their own way to processing their food, their clothing, housing, medicine, coloring, and religious or traditional rituals. while ethnozoology, the study of the past and present interrelationship between human cultures and the animals in their environment. So if ethnobotany is mostly talk about plants, while ethnozoology is talk about animals. This ethnozoology can be viewed as a discipline that examines the historical, economic, sociological, anthropological, and environment aspect of the relationship between humans and animals. So this is the way traditional communities utilize and relation with animals. It can also become food, become medicine, become clothes, and any others needed. Ethnoecology is interaction between human and their environment through belief, behavior, knowledge, and belief about nature characteristics. Traditional communities will know and they well known the environment around their live. Traditional communities in different locations understand that environment and relationship with it. So they have their special management issues. They have their own way to treat their environment. While ethnoforestry is cross-cut, like cross-cutting with ethnoecology, but it's mostly talk about forest only, study of continued practice of management conservation with utilization of forest resources. In this one, the traditional communities utilizing forests while protecting forests at the same time. So they use forests, but at the same time they protect the forest. This is involving traditional ecological knowledge on forest, also local knowledge on forests. They will also have pattern about how this forest, what happened in there, like including the biodiversity in forest, including uh, what happened in there in in particular time. While ethnoagriculture is an accumulation of information and behavioral to use the land and agriculture practice without disturbance of natural resources. So this is, we can also say this is sustainable agriculture because they will not disturbance natural resources. Management with agriculture system with some beliefs. I have interviewed children, the traditional villager. They said that if there's a specific weed like thorny plants, amaranthus, the soil may be lacks of nutrition. They also have belief like that. If there is a like uh, legume plants with creeping habitus, they believe that maybe something wrong with the plants or even the soil. And last, ethnopharmacology and ethnomedicine. Ethnopharmacology is the scientific of study of substance used medicinally by ethnic groups, while ethnomedicine is the study of traditional medicine based on bioactive compounds practiced by ethnic groups. The resources of ethnopharmacology or ethnomedicine is about plants or animals or any other living things. In history, so we can divide three phases of ethnobiology. The first one is about basic elementary subject. It will study about relationship between traditional communities and plants and animal species. We as the scientists have role to identification and plants and animals name, including their utilization. And the second phase in 1950 until 1990, study of human conception, nature environment system classification, spatial, like in Baduy tribe. They will divide their environment to housing, secondary forest, plantation, and then primary forest, which is no one can enter the primary forest. And then the third phase, until now, there is advanced method in ethnography, data collection, the way we interview, the way we choose informant, and then advance in data processing, like some formulas like use value or referral citation frequencies, and any other formulas in ethnobiology research. Ethnobiology in Indonesia. Okay, now in Indonesia, we know Indonesia is well known as a mega biodiversity country. It's about 1,700 islands with 270 million population with 100 and 340 tribes, and then have more than 800 villages just within more than 300 traditional villages. From here, we know that so many populations, so many tribes, so many villages, which means so many ethnobiology point of view, ethnobiology processing, ethnobiology on how they utilize their biodiversity and environment with many of terrestrial ecosystem up to 47 with 8,100 kilometers coastline length. Approximately, there are 1,300 plant species with 1,900 species have identified. Others biodiversity in Indonesia, bacteria with 300 species, fungi with 1,200 species, seaweed with 1,800 species, mammals with 500 species, birds with 1,590 species, and reptiles with 600 species. So many biodiversity in Indonesia, which means so many ethnobiological study in Indonesia. So many ethnobiology subject in Indonesia. Well, application of ethnobiology in Indonesia. This is how ethnoforestry and ethnoecology in Bali. In Bali, there is a cloth with black and white square pattern called saput poleng. If a tree has saput poleng, which it means this tree cannot be cut down, or even there's no one who can pick even a single leaf. This is one of application of Hinduism belief called Trihita Karana, the relationship between human and environment, while the other two is the relationship between human and God and human. This one is also applied in environment conservation. If a tree is put a saput pole, nobody can cut down or even pick a single leaf from there. Temple with fig, like this one is in Bali, this one is Thailand. Yeah, temple with fruit will also give more sacred feeling, so there will be no one who dares to make some land use change in there. This one is in Baduy, Sundanese tribe, the application of ethnoecology, ethnoagriculture, and ethnoforestry. So people of Baduy in Banten province divided their spatial management. This one is settlement house zone with field garden, so they can do some plantation in here. The second one is patio rest field and secondary forest. in secondary forest, they can also gain some forest resources, and that they can plant uh, Oryza sativa in paddy rice field. And third one is forbidden forest. While it is a primary forest, no one can enter it. So the ecosystem process in primary forest is stable because no one can cut down the tree, no one can enter it, no one can get the forest resource. So this is the most sacred place in Baduy tribe Banten. This is the safest place for biodiversity to run their ecosystem processes. Nah, this one is forbidden forest, like in Baduy tribe. In Chirin, the traditional village, they're also known as a forbidden forest, while no one can enter the forbidden forest. The land use change is not allowed here because no one can, even no one can enter the forest. How could they do some land use here? Because of that, the ecosystem process are sustained. So yeah, this one can also prevent the village from flood or dry. This one is about ethnozoology by Dayak Kayan on West Kalimantan. They utilize animals for consumption, medicine, and rituals. Study from Pilatus said that Myotis muricola, or a bat from interview with Dayak tribe, this bat is utilized and believed to cure asthma and hepatitis. The way they use it, first one, clean the body from its hair and then boil it. You can add some salt, consume the meat, and after decoction. If it is sus barbatus or pig is used in marriage ceremony. This is as a symbol of kinship. Meat is given to family, the closer relation with the and also the bigger size of meat she is get. Also, sus barbatus or pig is involved in traditional penalty and any other rituals. Ethnobotany of Rafflesia say this one is Rhizanthus lowii. In South Kalimantan is believed to cure hemorrhage, back pain, stomach ache, and hematuria. The way they use it by boiling dried flowers in about 2 glass water, reducing it by boiling water to its half, and then consuming it periodically. Another one is Rafflesia. Yeah, in Indonesia and Malaysia, bud of Rafflesia is used as a postpartum restorative tonic for women who has giving birth. Also utilized by individual in Malayan Peninsula to stop internal bleeding and to shrink vaginal sac following childbirth. Yeah, it's about a postpartum functional. And another use is to treat fever and backache. Uh, this one is Tajahan by Dayak Ngaju tribe in Kalimantan. Philosophy about Tajahan is live with nature. This is a sacred forest area by building homes with replica of the people who have passed away. And then this place is a place to put offerings for ancestor spirit. People are restricted to take the forest resources from here. This one is a practice of ethnoforestry. And then Pukung Pahewan by Dayak Ngaju tribe in central Kalimantan. Pukung Pahewan is literally means a forest area which is sacred. This practice is involved communities to take care of the forest. Environment and forest sustainability or ethnoforestry is one of two of ethnobiology application in Pukung Pahewan. In Pukung Pahewan, to do if there is someone who breaks the rule, they will get traditional penalty counted by the spirit of forest guardian, according to the Dayang tribe beliefs. Okay, this one I will deliver my experience in ethnobiology research. I do this with my lecturer, Dr. Ratna Susandarini. The overview of ethnobiology study about tutup tahun ngemban tahun satu sura traditional ceremony in Cirende traditional village Cimahi, West Java. So Cirende is one of traditional in West Java, particularly in Cimahi city. They not as most of Indonesian, but they eat cassava, which is processed as a rice called rasi. Rasi is abbreviation of beras nasi, beras singkong. Is rice and is cassava. The grain of cassava looks like rice, and then they still do some of traditional ceremonies, which is passed by generation and generation. They still run their traditional ceremonies until now. They also applied landscape and spatial management, just like Bali tribe in Banten province with 20-hectare agricultural area, 20-hectare secondary forest, 5 hectare of settlement house, and 20 hectare of forbidden forest. This traditional ceremony is means closing end of year and opening new year calendar. This traditional ceremony activity has the aim of being thankful for God's blessing. So the Cirende villager express their thankful to God because God has give their enough resource so they can live peacefully. They can live until now. This research is to study the ethnobiology in traditional ceremony tutup tahun ngemban tahun satu sura in the Cirende traditional village. About plants and animals are utilized and the philosophy from each plants and animals. Yeah, this is me and Mr. Andre. I have interviewed Mr. Andre about what kind of plants that during the traditional villagers community use in traditional ceremony. With method descriptive qualitative structured interview, I have make questionnaire with some questions. This is also purposive sampling in informant choose because Mr. Andre, one of villager organizer, is considered that he knows everything about knowledge and behavior and the philosophical value in traditional ceremonies. The traditional ceremony is divided into 3 steps. First one is preparation, like forming the community, funding, voluntary crowdfunding. So the villagers of Cirende will do some crowdfunding to fund this traditional ceremony. Beside funding, the traditional Cirende villager also give their resource, like a farmer, they will give their sheep or chicken, uh, or even their harvest resource like fruits. Also, they have practicing like GR, grand rehearsal, making sesajen or offering. Yeah, offering is made like a mountain, and then cooking rasi or cassava rice. On the day, there will be a speech and prayer by religious leader, speech and advice by elders. So the elders will give some speech and advice to the younger people. So command or handshake by every traditional villagers towards each other. So after elders and religious leader give their speech and advice, all of them will have handshake each other. After handshake each other, sungkeman, they will eat together. After that, some of this offering is taken by children. Yeah, the children can take this tuber or fruit from the offerings. After that, they will go nyekar or pilgrimage. They go to the cemetery to look their families which has who is passed away. And then the big event called Ngajayak. This event held for 2 days in Ngajayak. There are also art performance like singing, playing music. Uh, in this art performance, every during the traditional villagers can also perform, like they can sing, they can play music, and then there's a wayang or traditional puppet. The puppeteer called dayang, called dalang. This big event end around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. on the second day. The gong is hit as a sign of an ending. While the gong is hit, people of Cirende then able to take fruits or tubers from the offerings. During the Ngajayak or during the traditional ceremonies, these fruits or tubers in offering cannot be taken. Result of the interview with Mr. Henry, they have almost 40 species plants with more than 20 families, which are used in traditional ceremonies. There is 3 animals, which is divided to 2 terrestrial animals, chicken and sheep, and aquatic animals, common carp. The utilization of the plants and animal is as a food, like fruits and tubers, ornament, leaves and flowers, offering. All the part of plants is used in offerings. During the traditional village is also have philosophy in every plants or animals they use in their traditional ceremony. Mostly this plants or animals in traditional ceremony have a symbol of fertility, but there are also another symbol, another like coffee symbol. There are sweet and bitter. There are day and night. There are men and women. There are sick and health. There are sleep and activity. And then banana as a symbol of giving a benefit as long as alive. Like banana will still live until they result of fruit after banana is die. So the children in the traditional village look banana from the point of view like that, giving the benefit as long as life. fig as a symbol of water conservation. Uh, the traditional Cirende villager also believe that we have to plant fig around forest, the secondary forest, because they will do water conservation. So if the rainy season, there will be no flood. If the dry season, there will be no dry and still have waters in village. A sugar palm as a symbol of happiness. Rose, magnolia, cape jasmine as a symbol of to be liked by each other. Uh, and next one, uh, I have searched about ethnobiology in Australia. This in this research is done by is carried out by Packer et al. In 2012 with interview and participatory action research in northern New South Wales, Australia traditional communities. From the interview, they got the species with common name, with habitat where the plants they get, like from rainforest margin, from cultivated, from coastal area. Uh, for example, capsicum to treat colds or flu, carica papaya from cultivation to treat cancer, part use L for leaves, F for fruit, the capsicum fruit to treat cold or flu. Centella asiatica, they get it from rainforest margin or open disturbed. Part they use is leaf to treat arthritis. Just like that. The way they process it, it's a fresh, do not through some process, just fresh used or heated in water or infusion or burned. Yeah, this is how the ethnobiology study carried out. Thank you so much for your attention.